OCO. I want to welcome everyone to the Cherokee Nation Capitol and welcome to the Cherokee Nation Reservation. It's very encouraging when leaders from Washington, D.C. visit Indian country to see firsthand the great work that tribal nations are doing, and also to hear some of the challenges that we're facing. Attorney General Barr, I want you to know on behalf of the Cherokee Nation how honored we are to have you here. We have other federal officials here, and I think it speaks highly of any official of the government of the United States when they take the time to come to Indian country to see what we do and to learn more about our government. The Cherokee people have operated an efficient and sophisticated tribal court system for more than a century after establishing our government here in Tahlequah after removal. We have also U.S. Attorney Trent of the Northern District, and we thank you for being an instrumental partner with the Cherokee Nation. As both a citizen of the Choctaw Nation and a U.S. Attorney, we know that you're committed to the welfare of Indian country and the welfare of the United States. As the chair of the Native American Issues Subcommittee for Attorney General's Advisory Committee, we thank you for coordinating this visit today. U.S. Attorney Brian Kuester from the Eastern District of Oklahoma, we appreciate you also being with us today. And we appreciate that your office has hosted a Special Assistant U.S. Attorney from the Cherokee Nation in your office over these last few years. That partnership could not have come at a more critical time, and I am grateful for it. Members of Cherokee Nation's Sovereignty Commission are also here today. The Commission is helping plan the necessary expansion of our criminal justice system. And I appreciate their willingness to lend their expertise as the Cherokee Nation takes on new challenges. On July 9th of this year, the United States Supreme Court decided the McGirt case and held that the Muskogee Creek Nation's reservation has never been disestablished, and by extension, because we share similar histories and treaties, that applies to our Cherokee Nation reservation. Justice Hugo Black, former Justice of the United States Supreme Court, said that great nations, like great men, should keep their word. When the United States honors treaties that it made with Indian nations, our entire country becomes stronger and a more just place, because those promises are kept to First Nations. But there are also many new challenges that we face. The same federal and state agencies with which we've collaborated for decades through cross-deputizations, through partnerships, federal level, state level, those agencies are now more vulnerable than ever. As a result of the McGirt decision, defendants throughout the reservations of the 5 tribes who've been charged with crimes in state court are asking to be retried in federal court or tribal court. Many state law enforcement officers are familiarizing themselves with tribal reservation boundaries for the first time and learning about jurisdictional rules that operate in Indian country. Decisions in many such cases will likely be made by state courts before the end of the year. Our Attorney General Sarah Hill, who is with us today, has worked day in and day out to meet with other prosecutors in Northeast Oklahoma. She currently has 2 Cherokee Nation attorneys training with Jack Thorpe, one of our local district attorneys, whose district lies primarily inside the Cherokee Nation reservation. Her office is tracking hundreds of cases that may need to be tried in federal or tribal courts. Partnerships at every level of law enforcement will be needed as we begin to move forward post-McGirt. And the Cherokee Nation is committed, as it always is, to accepting these challenges head-on and continue to seek additional funding and resources so that we can adequately expand our staff of our court systems, our Attorney General's office, and of course, our Marshal Service. The Cherokee Nation will work tirelessly to ensure that those who commit crimes on our reservation are apprehended and to ensure that these criminals are prosecuted for their crimes. And because we will need strong partnerships, we are deeply honored, Mr. Attorney General, that you've chosen to spend your time with us today to learn more about the Cherokee Nation. And at this time, I will turn it over to U.S. Attorney Trent.
Chief, thank you very much. Yokoke, as we would say in Choctaw, Wado, as you would say in Cherokee, for hosting us today. It is such an honor to be here in the capital of the great Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma as we look at what is, frankly, a wonderful partnership. It's a historic partnership that is reflected over decades of United States attorneys' offices, of the Department of Justice, working hand in hand with our Cherokee Nation law enforcement partners. Chief, your Attorney General, Sarah Hill, is absolutely incredible. She was a Special Assistant U.S. Attorney in my office. I worked side by side with her and can testify that she is in fact a great advocate, not just for the rule of law and for justice, but for the Cherokee people as well. It is certainly an honor to be in U.S. Attorney Brian Kuester's district and to have our boss, Attorney General William Barr, here with us today. General Barr, since his first day on the job, has made public safety in Indian country a priority. This isn't just something that General Barr talks about, and this is something that he acts on. And I think that is so crucial when we look at what is it that we can do and should be doing in Indian country. It's consistent not only with treaty obligations, but with our trust responsibility. And that's something that the entire Justice Department takes very seriously. We've seen General Barr visit Alaska. We've seen him visit with Alaska Native villages. We've seen him visit the Salish Kootenai tribe in Montana, and it is so wonderful to have him here in Oklahoma. As I view these questions that have arisen about public safety in the wake of the McGirt decision that we've talked so much about here in Oklahoma, I view them through both my personal heritage and through my chosen career. I've been a prosecutor for the majority of my career for the Justice Department, working in Indian country. But as a citizen of the Choctaw Nation, there also is great personal pride in having the opportunity to continue to provide public safety to all citizens of the United States, but especially those in Indian country, giving voice to women who have been domestically abused or who are victims of violent crime, to ensure that they have the same opportunity to achieve justice as every other American. My great-grandmother is where my Choctaw heritage comes from. When she grew up here in Indian Territory, she did not want to be known as Indian because Indians weren't recognized as citizens yet. And not until 1924, when she was 24 years old, did that happen. And I know that my great-grandmother is looking down today and is so proud of where we are and how far we have come, because this is good government. This is accountable government. This is government that is working for the people. And the partnership that we have, the bonds that we have forged from the United States Attorney's offices, from the United States Department of Justice with the Cherokee Nation and the Cherokee people, is something that I am extremely proud of and look forward to continuing to foster in the days, weeks, and years to come. And with that, Chief, again, thank you for hosting us today. Certainly, we look forward to learning more about the Cherokee Nation and having an opportunity to share the incredible history of the Cherokee Nation with Attorney General Barr. Thank you.
Mr. Attorney General.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. It's a real pleasure and honor to be here with you and the leadership of the Cherokee Nation. As Trent mentioned, with my colleagues from the Department of Justice, both Brian and Trent. As Trent just mentioned, I've had a long-standing interest in Indian affairs. when I was a youngster in the Reagan White House. The Indian Affairs portfolio was assigned to me, and I became very interested in these matters and visited with a lot of tribal leaders during that period. And when I took over Justice Department, I've made it a priority. I've been looking forward to this trip. Unfortunately, COVID interfered with my travel plans for 6 months, but I had been planning to visit, certainly with the Cherokee Nation, which is not only the largest tribe, but is really the most successful example of the promise of sovereignty and self-determination. And also a tribal government that is recognized for their commitment to law enforcement and the rule of law, and the remarkable accomplishments that the Cherokee Nation has made in those areas. And we value our strong partnership with the Cherokee Nation. And I'm here to discuss how we can strengthen it going forward, but also how we can jointly meet at least the short-term challenges that we face with the McGirt decision. I know McGirt is on everyone's mind, and in Washington, the Department of Justice is working closely with the Oklahoma delegation to try to come up with a legislative approach that is supported by all sides. But as we do that, we are committed to implementing it and meeting the challenges we're facing right now, which is a question of resources. Obviously, we didn't plan on the McGirt decision when we were deploying our resources from the last budget cycle, but we have pressing needs now for our prosecutors and for the prison system. We sought to address that initially with some temporary assignments of prosecutors from around the country and other professionals from around the country to augment both the northern and eastern districts here. That has had an effect. I'm told by Trent that since August, his office has prosecuted 114 cases, whereas in a typical year, the entire year would be about 230 cases. So you can see the impact this is having on us. I'm also pleased to announce today that we're funding a tribal, what we call a Special Assisting United States Attorney program, or SAUSA program, with $2 million over 3 years. The department will provide funds to hire 2 prosecutors for the Eastern District and 2 prosecutors for the Northern District from tribal prosecutors who will then be cross-designated. So those prosecutors can handle cases both in tribal courts and in federal courts. We also are taking a longer-term view and have just gone through an exercise of taking slots from around the country, 30 prosecutorial slots, 10 other professional slots, and then additional slots for victims experts, assistants, to shift those slots to Oklahoma so they can meet the federal responsibilities here. In November of last year, the President signed an executive order which created Operation Lady Justice, a task force that is charged with developing a government-wide response to the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous persons. And we're very pleased to have Patty Buell of the Cherokee Nation now in the Department of Justice as the coordinator for all the U.S. Attorney's offices here in Oklahoma on that project. And in the next several weeks, she'll be reaching out, and the offices will be reaching out to develop action plans protocols for responding to these cases as they arise. Finally, I'm happy to announce today that the department is awarding over $296 million throughout the country for tribal grants to improve public safety, serve victims of crime, support law enforcement, COVID assistance, and for the support of youth programs in American Indian and Alaska Native communities, as well as research and technical assistance for these communities. This funding will be almost $40 million allocated to Oklahoma and over $7.6 billion directly to the Cherokee Nation, and will provide critical support to law enforcement and important funding for victim service providers. So those are some of the steps we're taking, and I'm looking forward to my discussions later this morning to hear perspectives on how we can strengthen our partnership going forward. Thank you, Chief.
Well, thank you, Mr. Attorney General. Again, we appreciate your presence here with us today.
At this point, that concludes the media open portion. General Barr, Chief Hoskins, U.S. Attorney Kuester, and A.G. Hill and I are going to meet with tribal leaders now to have a roundtable discussion about issues that are pertinent both here in Cherokee Nation, but also throughout Indian country. Thank you to all of our media partners who came out to Tahlequah today to cover this important announcement. And at this time, we will ask that the media please depart the room. Thank you.